She knew the law. She enforced the law. But that didn't stop an overconfident cop from pulling her over and refusing to believe who she was. What he never saw coming was the swift karma that would land him behind bars. It was almost midnight on a lonely stretch of highway in Riverbend County. The desert wind rattled the scrub brush by the side of the road. Elaine Parker, newly appointed FBI deputy director, was driving alone in her unassuming black sedan. She just left a classified briefing, one that reminded her how dark the world could be. She wanted to get home, take a quick breath before diving into her next case. But the reflection of flashing red and blue lights in her rear view mirror triggered the old, familiar tension. She glanced at the speedometer 65 on a 65 mph road. She signaled and pulled to the shoulder, her mind calm but alert. For a moment, she wondered, why me? Elaine parked, turned off the engine, and took a slow breath. She'd been an FBI agent for years, heading major investigations and spearheading raids. She had the scars, the accolades, the advanced training. Now, as a top official, she never expected a routine traffic stop to scare her. But the slice of anxiety she felt came from something deeper, a knowledge that not every officer respects every citizen's rights. And not every officer would show her courtesy, especially if they saw only her skin color, not her badge. She flicked on her interior light, resting her hands on the steering wheel to be fully visible. A swirl of caution buzzed in her gut. The next moments would define the night. A deliberate approach, an ominous shift, a glare of headlights behind her. No movement from a cruiser for an unnerving minute. At last, the door opened. Through her side mirror, she saw a figure step out, Officer Neil Jacobs, the name glinting on his chest under the rotating lights. Tall, posture radiating authority, one hand hovering near the butt of his gun, the other shining a flashlight that stabbed the darkness. Elaine rolled down her window halfway, letting the night air drift inside. She watched Jacobs approach. The dryness in her throat wasn't fear for her life, so much as frustration. She enforced the law. But how many times had she read about small incidents that escalated because an officer decided not to listen? He reached the window, shining the flashlight straight in her eyes, too bright, too intrusive. License and registration, he barked. No greeting, no mention of her alleged violation. Elaine had encountered countless local cops, many professional and dedicated. But Jacobs's stance unsettled her. She calmly asked, "Sir, may I know why I was pulled over?" He repeated in a sharper tone, "License. Registration." She stifled a sigh. "All right, I'm reaching into my purse." She didn't want to spook him. She moved methodically, retrieving her wallet. She also pulled out her FBI credentials, a silver badge that had opened doors in the highest corridors. "I'm FBI Deputy Director Parker," she said, offering them. "Is there a problem?" He stared at her ID a beat too long, then stared back at her, the corner of his mouth curling in a skeptical grin. "FBI, huh?" His voice held no courtesy, only challenge. Elaine maintained a calm expression. "Yes, as you can see on the credentials." The brush off of authority. He didn't accept her badge. Instead, he flicked the flashlight beam across her face again. "Step out of the car," he muttered. Elaine felt a shot of adrenaline. That command was abrupt and ungrounded. She tried once more. "Officer Jacobs, I'd like to know the reason for this stop." "I wasn't speeding." He let out a short, humorless laugh. "You're refusing a lawful order?" Her heart hammered, but her voice stayed collected. "I'm not refusing. I'm asking. On what grounds must I exit the vehicle?" The glint in his eyes told her he resented the question. "Don't get cute. Get out." He reached for the door handle from outside. Elaine's hand shot to her own handle, preventing him from yanking it open. "Wait," she said firmly. "I have the right to know." He banged his free hand on the roof, a loud clang that reverberated in the still night. "I said out now." She inhaled, scanning for a dash cam or body cam not guaranteed in some apartments. She saw no sign of it. That made her uneasy. She decided to hold her ground verbally. "I am Deputy Director Parker with the FBI," she repeated. Let's not escalate. If you contact your station, they'll confirm. But he cut her off. Don't care. Show me your license and step out. She sensed the tension at a tipping point. This was no routine check. She considered compliance, but her gut told her this man was spoiling for a confrontation. She gently repeated, "Officer, I'm fully cooperating, but I have reason to remain in my car for." "Stop with your reasons." He snarled, voice carrying an ugly edge. "You wanted to call for backup? You want a squad to help me haul you out?" Unexpected backup arrives, but not hers. A second set of headlights raked across them from behind. Another cruiser. Elaine's initial relief quickly died when a second officer hopped out, Officer Kelly Stocky, purposeful, mirroring Jacobs's stance. The same tinted scowl, the same posture near the holster. She recognized intimidation tactics. Her chest tightened at how quickly a solitary stop had turned into a cornering. She parted her lips, wanting to defuse. "We can talk about this calmly. I'm not resisting, but I need you to verify my credentials." Jacob spat. "I see your credentials. Probably fake. Plenty of punks carry phony badges." Elaine stiffened. "Punks? Really?" Kelly, the second officer, moved in, standing near the rear side of her car, his silhouette overshadowing the trunk. "She's got a big mouth, Neil." Jacobs nodded. "That's what it is. I smell a liar." Elaine's mind whirled. This had to be documented, somebody had to see. But both men seemed adept at blocking vantage points from passing traffic. She prayed for some random driver to slow, record them, or for them to at least slip up and show they had no justification. If not for her background, this could end differently. She was haunted by countless news stories. "Officer Kelly, is it?" she asked, voice unwavering. "I can recite my FBI ID number." "Please run it. Call your station." But Kelly snorted. "We run the show, lady. You ain't in charge here." Jacobs took an aggressive step closer, flashing that smug grin. "Now, final warning. Step out, or we make you step out." Forced to exit, a tense standoff. Elaine weighed her choices. They were determined to get her out. Any further refusal could spark them claiming resisting arrest. She needed to keep controlling the narrative, but she couldn't let them forcibly drag her out. She also feared they might interpret any move as aggression. With measured calm, she nodded. "All right, I'll comply for now." She placed both hands where they could see them, slowly unbuckled her seatbelt, and cracked the door open. Jacobs jerked it the rest of the way, forcing it wide. The desert night air rushed inside, cold and foreboding. She stepped out, posture erect, but Jacobs shoved the door shut behind her. Kelly angled around the trunk, boxing her in from behind. Jacobs hovered near her front. Their combined presence formed a pocket of menace. "Hands behind your head," Jacobs ordered. Elaine frowned. "Why? Am I under arrest?" Her ID said FBI, but they were ignoring it. Her outraged mind roared that they were illegally detaining her. But logic insisted that she not physically resist. He stared coldly. "Keep talking. You'll be in cuffs, no matter your fancy ID. Now do it." She inhaled, then laced her fingers behind her head. "You realize I'm a federal officer, correct? This is a wrongful stop, an unlawful search, and you're on extremely thin ice." He laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You think I care? Not the first time someone's claimed to be FBI." The gun drawn, the ultimate threat. Her stomach twisted. She recognized that twisted arrogance, the kind that came from believing you're above reproach. She also recognized a flicker in Jacobs's eyes. He was itching to brandish real force. A rapid series of events crashed in her mind. She was alone with them, no dash cam apparently, no visible body cams. She realized they might push this further. Her breath caught as Jacobs's hand dropped to his holster. "You flinch," he growled, "and I'll blow you away. Understand?" Her pulse thundered, but her voice found calm. "Officer, do not do this. Put the gun down. Let's talk like professionals." He smirked. "Aren't you a know-it-all? Turn around." She didn't budge. The second officer, Kelly, stepped closer, brandishing what looked like a baton in his free hand. "You heard him. Turn. Around." Elaine's entire being screamed that these men were out of control. She forced a level voice. I'm unarmed. I'm not resisting. I told you who I am. This is an unlawful use of force. Jacobs leveled the pistol at her, eyes shining with a twisted sense of power. Ain't no law about me using force on a liar. Time slowed. Elaine's heart pounded. She'd stared down criminals, but never felt so powerless as a law officer. Right then, a voice rang out from somewhere behind the cruisers. Hey, let her go. I'm recording this. All heads turned. A bystander, phone held aloft, had approached under the cover of darkness. The phone screen glowed, capturing Jacobs and Kelly in mid-escalation. The officers stiffened, their illusions of unobserved power cracked wide open. Jacobs glared, pivoting the gun's muzzle away from Elaine to wave the witness back. Get lost. This is police business. But the witness didn't retreat. I see a woman, unarmed, and you pointing a gun at her. That's not lawful business, officer. Kelly turned to hush the bystander. Stop recording, or I'll confiscate that phone. The bystander stepped back a half pace, refusing to lower the camera. No way. First Amendment. I know my rights. Elaine exhaled relief. The mere presence of a camera gave her a margin of protection. Jacobs glowered, twisting from Elaine. We can handle you both. Sirens, renforcement arrive. A distant whoop of sirens echoed in the desert night. More lights flickered on the horizon, the wail growing closer. For a fleeting moment, Elaine prayed these new arrivals were the good cops, not more of Jacobs's cronies. Jacobs's expression faltered. Kelly looked equally anxious. They realized they were losing control of the narrative. The witness didn't waver, phone still recording, capturing every second. Elaine glimpsed the fear creeping into Jacobs's eyes. She seized the chance to assert her authority again. Officer Jacobs, she said clearly, I strongly suggest you put that weapon away. You're on camera, and you are threatening a federal officer. He bristled, but the sirens were so close. In the swirl of red and blue beams, 2 new patrol cars screeched to a stop. Doors flung open, uniformed officers spilled out, weapons at the ready. For an instant, confusion reigned as they took in the scene. Jacobs with gun drawn, Kelly brandishing a baton, a well-dressed black woman with her hands behind her head, a bystander filming. Then one of the newly arrived cops recognized Elaine. Deputy Director Parker? Ma'am, are you okay? Jacobs's eyes went wide. Realization dawned. He'd gone too far, threatening not just a random motorist, but an FBI deputy director. The next beats blurred in a flurry of shouted commands. Tables turned as officers detained their own. Elaine lowered her arms, stepping away from Jacobs. The new officers closed in. One, a sergeant named Miguel Alvarez, barked at Jacobs, holster your weapon now. Jacobs hesitated, face paling. Kelly dropped his baton, raising his hands in a half-protest. We had reason, he stammered, but his words fell flat as Alvarez repeated the command. Holster it. Jacobs, or I'll disarm you forcibly. Jacobs complied, grudgingly snapping the holster shut. Elaine let her arms fall fully, crossing them over her chest. She locked eyes with Alvarez. I want them both detained, she said, her voice trembling slightly with repressed anger. They pulled me over for no cause, threatened lethal force, refused to acknowledge my credentials. This is an attempted assault on a federal officer. Alvarez nodded, stepping in. Yes, ma'am. He turned on Jacobs and Kelly. Both of you, hand behind your backs. Jacobs's mouth hung open in shock. Kelly sputtered, Wait, it's not what it looks like. Elaine advanced, leveling a cold gaze at them. Then you'll have a chance to explain it all to internal affairs, and possibly a judge. She pointed to the bystander. He has everything on video, I assume. The bystander nodded, still filming. Jacobs's defiance collapsed, replaced by a flicker of panic. This is a big misunderstanding. We thought I thought. But Alvarez wasn't listening. Another new arrival, an older lieutenant with graying temples, stepped up. Deputy Director Parker, I'm Lieutenant Brody. Are you injured? Elaine shook her head. No, but I could have been if that man fired. She glared at Jacobs. Brody's jaw tightened. Jacobs and Kelly, you're relieved of duty. Hand over your badges and sidearms. Now, Jacobs nearly choked, but saw no escape. He flicked a glare at Elaine, unfastening his duty belt with shaking hands. Kelly did the same, face a mask of regret. The cluster of officers parted, letting them be cuffed. The witness zoomed in, capturing their humiliation as Jacobs was led to a squad car. He briefly struggled, but a sharp command from an officer forced compliance. The entire scene reversed in 2 minutes flat. The tense aftermath. With Jacobs and Kelly subdued, the wave of adrenaline that had fueled Elaine began to ebb. She exhaled a shaky breath, leaning on the hood of her sedan for a moment. Sergeant Alvarez approached, expression kind. Ma'am, do you want paramedics? A checkup just in case? She mustered a slight smile. I'm unhurt, physically. Thank you, though. He nodded, stepping back to coordinate with other officers. The bystander filming wandered up, phone still active. Ma'am, you sure you're all right? She faced him. Yes, thank you. If you hadn't recorded, this might have gone differently. He nodded solemnly. World's a scary place if nobody sees. I recognized you when you said FBI. They didn't. A lot of folks wouldn't stand a chance. Her throat tightened. I appreciate your bravery. Can I get a copy of that footage for the record? He smiled, exchanging contact details. Of course. Jacobs in handcuffs, facing consequences. Meanwhile, Jacobs sat in the back of a patrol car, hands cuffed behind him, face twisted in shock. Kelly was loaded into another vehicle. The new arrivals had to piece together the story from the bystander's video and Elaine's statement. Observing Jacobs's repeated outraged complaints only convinced them further that he was unrepentant. A hush fell as Elaine walked over to the lead officer. Lieutenant Brody, I'd like to formally file charges. Assault with a deadly weapon, intimidation, plus forcibly preventing me from exercising my duties as a federal officer. They also refused to verify my ID. That's borderline kidnapping if they try to detain me under false pretenses. Brody gave a crisp nod. We'll handle it. I'll forward all relevant details to your bureau, ma'am. Also, Internal Affairs will want statements from you. Elaine nodded. I'm ready. I'll also inform the FBI OPR Office of Professional Responsibility. We'll coordinate. Brody offered a thin, respectful smile. On behalf of the rest of us, I'm sorry. This isn't how we operate. Those two are a disgrace. The immediate crisis settled. Elaine slid into her sedan, lights from the half-dozen squads still flashing behind her. She took a moment to compose herself, letting the magnitude sink in. She'd survived, but she was shaking with a potent mix of anger and relief. One more time, she'd glimpsed how swiftly routine can become lethal for a black driver. She wore the FBI title, but they nearly shot her. If she was an ordinary citizen, the thought brought a wave of disgust. Too many times had that story ended tragically. She vowed, as a high-ranking official, to push for reforms, ensure that those systematically threatened by biased policing get real protection. The road ahead was bigger than tonight's fiasco. She reversed carefully, ignoring Jacobs's hateful stare through the cruiser window. He was cuffed, rage contorting his face. She offered him no parting glance, focusing on the road. She'd file her official complaints, share the footage, appear before any hearing that came. Because this had to stop. Early morning news, the story breaks. By dawn, local networks buzzed with the shocking footage. Cop arrested after pulling gun on FBI director. Headlines roiled with speculation on the department's reaction. The district attorney's office quickly stepped in, promising thorough investigations. Social media erupted with fury that yet another reckless stop occurred, but also awe that this time, the suspect was an FBI official who refused to be bullied. Elaine sat in her office at the FBI field headquarters, nursing a coffee while the phone rang incessantly. Her direct line lit up with calls from state officials, civil rights advocates, and fellow law enforcement heads. She assured them all that the internal, state, and federal investigations would proceed. Jacobs and Kelly had been suspended, possibly facing criminal charges. She hoped that was just the start of systemic changes. One call was from her direct boss in D.C. "You all right, Parker?" he asked, voice taut with worry. She breathed a sigh. "I'll live, but the deeper problems remain." He gave a grim hum. "We'll stand behind you. Let's push for accountability." She thanked him, grateful for the support. Late that evening, a somber hush filled Elaine's living room. She replayed the footage the bystander had sent. She cringed, seeing Jacobs's sneer, Kelly's baton, the barrel of a gun pointed at her chest. She stared at her own face on the screen, calm, stoic, because letting fear show could have spelled disaster. She felt a swirl of relief that she survived, anger that it happened at all, and determination to keep it from happening to others. The next day, she'd lead a press conference detailing the steps her bureau was taking in collaboration with the local PD. The cameras would flash, reporters would ask if she felt safer now. She'd likely respond that it wasn't about her. It was about justice. Justice doesn't come easily, but this time, at least, it had come swiftly. Jacobs, handcuffed, powerless in the end, would face the system he once abused. And Kelly, too, would answer for enabling the threat. Elaine Parker would stand, a living testament that no matter the badge you wear or the position you hold, prejudice can strike. But also that a single act of courage from an onlooker with a phone, from a woman refusing to yield her rightful place, can tip the scales. She put the phone aside, letting a wave of fatigue envelop her. She'd take a moment to rest, because tomorrow, the fight continued for the countless others who might not be so fortunate, who might not carry a federal badge, but still deserve the same rights.